How's it going, everybody? I'm Brandon with Electrical Specialist, and on today's episode of Ask Your Local Electrician, we're going to be continuing the series, Electrical Maintenance in Your Home. This will be the last part of the series. We're going to do kind of the biggest area on this, which is your main electrical service. So this is the part outside that either comes overhead, or if you're lucky enough, it comes underground, which we'll start with that one because that's easy to tell the difference. Obviously, if you're lucky enough to have an underground service, congratulations. We're all jealous of you. That's awesome. You don't have to worry about trees falling on your service or, weather taking it out. There's still issues to be concerned about, though. So let's just kind of go bottom to top here. So during a safety eval, we find lots of stuff when we look at these things, whether it's overhead or underground. We do a full safety eval. So let me do an example, okay? So we had a client who had an underground service, and they had this house for several years. Looked really nice. It had a big loop box on the outside and a meter above it. For those of you unfamiliar with a loop box, that's okay because they are going away anyway. But when they come up from underground into the bottom of the box, they would put a giant box under the meter and coil the wire in a loop. That way, as it went into the ground and settled, it would pull some of that loop out. Well, they did account for that, which is pretty smart, I have to say. What they didn't account for was eventually it would pull out of the bottom of the can, pull the wires tight. In our inspection, what we had found is that the wires actually had broken the pipe loose underneath, and the wires were pulled tight really close to the metal, which, guess what, is a giant explosion hazard that's been in this backyard for years, that regular maintenance or a safety check would have caught, and the last homeowners would have dealt with before they bought it. So that's the point. The biggest point here is that this should have been taken care of years ago. Because no one had looked at it, it became a big deal. You know what they're going to have to do now? They're going to have to dig it up all the way to the pole. It's going to be quite an expensive fix. There is no easy fix to this. It should have been done a while ago. Maybe it could have been fixed easier at a certain point when it had just started to come loose, but now it all needs done. So there are things to worry about when you have an underground service. Let's go ahead and move on to overhead, which most of us have. That's the majority. That's how it first came to your house. Edison and all that, when they first invented it, it would come to your house. So coming in overhead, well, of course, we have to be a lot more concerned with things. We have more parts. There's the service mast going up the side of your house. There's a weatherhead where the connections are, where the wires come out. Now, I think the most common thing that we see, we get a lot of this from realtors that, in the middle of selling a house. When they do an inspection, the home inspector sees the wires that are coming out of this weatherhead, is what we call it. The service entrance, another name for it. As the wires come in here, this is where they're most exposed to weather before they go in. And they do a lot of swinging and swaying, as you can imagine, in the wind, especially here in Kansas. We get a lot of storms, a lot of weather. There's a lot of wear. They rub against each other. They rub themselves raw. Animals can get to them. Anyway, the copper becomes, or the aluminum, whichever it is, becomes exposed, and they can actually explode right here because there's no breaker on the other end of this. It's just a big explosion. So when these wires get exposed, it becomes pretty dangerous. It can ground out to the guttering. It can hurt people trying to work on the roof. So that's one thing you need to watch out for. If it's just a little bit of wear, you can tape them up. That's legal. But here in our area, if there's anything exposed, the way they look at it is the wires inside the riser need replaced as well, because if it's worn there, who knows what it looks like inside. That's kind of the idea in this area. Every jurisdiction's different. That's mainly what we see. The riser that comes down here to your meter, that pulls loose a lot. If it doesn't go through your roof, the anchors that hold it to the wall, they get loose. They start to lean with the weight of the wire. It's something you got to watch out for because you don't want that coming loose. Again, that's an explosion hazard. Now, if it does go through your roof, that's great. it's a little more to hold it there, but we see a lot of the times the pipe actually starts to bend and sag. Your roof will actually get kind of soft there and it'll come forward. So we need to make sure that pipe is secured. It's supposed to be secured within 3 foot of the box and somewhere up high too. So you'd like to see 2 points securing that to the wall. If those come loose, those are something actually pretty simple and easy to fix. So watch out for that, because that could go from a small thing to a giant can of worms. One example would be here in our area. If we go to replace that, the wire inside of it, or fix a, if we have to pull that service mast off, we pull a permit from the city. But what they want is to update it to today's code. So you can imagine, I think the average house in our area is about 1960. So nobody's touched these meters or these risers since they were put on, because they're big and scary. And honestly, you have to be licensed to work on them for the most part. So I understand why nobody's touched them, but you still have to look at them and see if anything's coming loose that needs fixed. But when we have to fix a piece of it and we have to pull a permit, they want it to be up to today's code. So it used to be okay to be 10 foot high. Now it's got to be 13.5 feet. It used to be okay to have an AC in front of it. Now it's not. It used to be okay to have a gas meter next to it. Now it's not. So you never know, when we come over to make that easy fix, it might need moved to the other side of the house for all we know. So the idea here is, if you keep up with that maintenance and you make sure that everything's strapped the way it should be, it's not falling off the house, the better chance that you have of trying not to catch up with 50 years of maintenance all at once, just one little piece at a time. That could save you a ton of money, a ton of time, and a ton of heartache. So make sure to keep a good routine maintenance on it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We're here, staying with us. If you want any more information, feel free to go to the website. You can also leave a request there. We have a little button for contact us. We'd love to hear what you guys want to hear about. Maybe we can help you with some more information there. Either way, have a great day.